Well, guys, I've already released a video for Sunday, so this one's going to come on Monday. By the way, welcome to the new house. We haven't moved in just yet, but this is a little bit different, so you get to see a little bit of what's going on around me here. All right, unfortunately, the news is not good. Rest in peace, Peter David. Peter David wrote an acclaimed run on Supergirl, Spider-Man 2099, actually co-created Spider-Man 2099 with Rick Leonardi. Had a 12-year stint on The Incredible Hulk, where he built up the story of Bruce Banner to a point that I don't think anybody else has ever attempted or ever will attempt again. But I just wanted to take the time to say thank you, sir, for all of your stories, all of your love for comics. And just remember, guys, the people that we used to read 20 and 30 and 40 years ago, they're getting older. And I think part of this conversation should also go to say, shouldn't we help our creators? And not necessarily shouldn't we help our creators, our favorite creators, but instead shouldn't Marvel and DC step up when they see somebody like that who is in very poor health, whether it's by his own decisions and his own choices, younger in life, but he still created all of these wonderful stories that people go back and love decades later. Shouldn't Marvel and DC and Image and all the other companies that have been around for multiple decades, shouldn't they help those who helped them? Isn't it just right to do that? Now, I'm not saying give each and every creator $35 million a year as a stipend if they haven't written anything for Marvel in 30 years. But I am saying that these people loved your product enough to come out there and to write these stories, to create these characters, sometimes to create new whole worlds in the case of Spidey 2099. And yet you can't be bothered to really lift a finger when you find out that they have cancer or they have complications of diabetes or they have things of that nature. Then you kind of send them a card and say, well wishes from Marvel, well wishes from DC. Shouldn't there be something more? Isn't it time that Marvel and DC and all of these big companies stop profiting off of the backs of those that do this mainly for love? Because I have heard that it's not for money. But Marvel and DC see plenty of money, billions and trillions of dollars. So isn't it right to take those people and not treat them like another Jack Kirby? Not treat them as though they are work for hire, which they are. But if you really get into this, both the writing and the penciling and all of that, it's a labor of love. It's something that takes you away from your family, takes you away from vacations, takes you away from being able to spend time with those close to you when they may be sick when you're younger. So it's a very selfish thing to be a comic book writer or be a comic book artist, from what I have, vaguely understood in the context of wanting to be a writer in that industry myself for decades, ever since I was 9 and I started reading comics. So we're going on 35 years this year that I've been reading comics and aspiring to be that. I would want some help if I had created, Thanos, if I had created McGill O'Hara, if I had created the Fantastic Flippin' Four. I would only think that it would be right that if I create a multi-million or multi-billion-dollar industry standard, that when I get older and I can't draw as many pages for you as I could before, it shouldn't be a thing of what have you done for me lately. It should be a thing of thank you for your service. My dad was in the Marine Corps from 1963 to 1967, and every single time that I get the opportunity, every single time that I get the opportunity and I see somebody wearing a Vietnam hat or something along those lines, combat veteran, tier 1 operator, I always go over and shake their hand and say thank you for what you've done for this country. Why? Because they did something that was very selfless instead of very selfish. They could have stood on the sidelines like I've done all these years and not made the world a safer place. But instead, they gave of themselves, they gave of their time, they gave of their family time, they gave of their ability to function as a fully armed, fully legged individual. They sacrificed so much. And even though it's not a real war zone out there, and comic creators aren't getting blown up and destroyed and killed, it's still a war zone out there because they are fighting at 50 and 60 and 70 years old just to be able to continue to provide for their family the way that they could when they were 35. Larry Hama, I didn't know how sad of a situation Larry Hama was in. But I read in an article that he said that he'll be writing G.I. Joe until the day he dies, probably at the keyboard. I thought that he wrote G.I. Joe just out of love for the characters. And you're talking a man who's written, 316, 317 issues of G.I. Joe? But instead, at the end of the day, and I've got to give it to Skybound, Kirkman and company have tried to make things a little bit better for him, a little bit more proper. Still not perfect, but what is perfection in this world? So, enjoy your creators while they're here. Praise them. Always make sure that you let them know that the stories that they create, whether it be a writer, a penciler, an inker, a letterer, a colorist, or anything in between, you let them know how important they are to you. And if you go to a con and they're a jackass, you know what? Everybody's entitled to a bad day. If you go to 7 cons and they're a jackass, just understand that some people are jackasses. But that doesn't have to taint the feelings that you have towards the creative work that they've created, nor should it taint how they are taken care of with insurance and just being given back to after giving for so many years. So rest in peace, Peter David. Thank you for all the memories. Thank you for the stories that you gave us all those years. May you find peace and find rest wherever you are. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video.